Hey everyone, it's Ashley and this is my friend Sam Anderson. We are here getting ready to talk about Ask Me Anything. So some questions that some of you have come up with. We had such a fun time the last time we did this that we're going to do it again. This is part 2, Ask Me Anything. I'm going to let Sam run with the questions and then I'm going to try my best to answer them.
Okay. One of my favorite things about Ashley is she's always reading, always posting books she loves. Every year she puts out her book list. So why do you like to read so much?
That's such a good question. And I bet my husband would ask that too, because he loves movies and I love reading, which are polar opposite. And I think that where it comes from is if you've ever taken the Strength Finder assessment, one of my top 5 strengths is input. So input could look like lots of different things for people. It could be that you collect things. I collect information and knowledge and opinions. So I think that's where it comes from. But then I love, again, I'm like tangible. So I like to touch the pages. Mm-hmm. I don't do Kindle or any way, like even audio. I haven't gotten into that. I want to touch and feel the pages turning. And I like feeling progress as I'm going through the book, mm-hmm. which is so my personality. And then I use the Goodreads app where I log every book that I read, because oftentimes I go to the library, get a book, start reading the first chapter and be like, this is so familiar and be so frustrated that I read a whole chapter of a book I'd already read. So I now log it and then I can go back and check to see if I've read it before. And then I set a goal for the year, which is again, so my personality. And then I try to, see if I can read 50 to 100 books in a year. So I think that's part of it.
So that was going to be my next leading question was, I know you've counted in the year. What is the highest number of books you've read in a year? Can you remember?
I don't know. I need to go look. I know I set a goal for 100 because I was like, I'm going to sell 100 houses and I'm going to read 100 books. That was my goal. I know there was a year that I flopped and did not even get close to my goal. This year, I think I will with quarantine. I have read a ton. I've borrowed from every friend and neighbor. They've been my library resources for me, but I would say over 50. I just can't remember between 50 and 100 where I got.
That's amazing. I can't wait to hear what the number is for this year.
Yes, I'll look that up.
Okay. And just a completely random question that I was curious about.
Yeah.
I know you love consignment sales. What is your favorite store to shop for yourself?
Yeah, that is a good question. What's yours?
I mean, I'm pretty frugal, so I like to buy things that are not full price. And I used to work in retail, so I know how much it costs to make things. Mm-hmm. So I do love thrift stores, mm-hmm. and I do love Target.
Yeah. So those would be mine as well. But I would probably say consignment stores is my first choice because they're usually sized, whereas at thrift stores, they're often not sized, and I'm not totally committed to that. That's kind of stressful for me. But consignment stores, consignment sales, thrift stores, and then Target, Home Goods, Marshalls, mm-hmm. those types of places would be probably my favorite for me.
Yeah, those places are. You can find some good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I feel like this is a pretty common question you must get, or at least think about. Why did you go into real estate?
Yeah, a lot of people think that maybe that was my dream to be a real estate agent. And it never, that I can remember, was ever on my radar to be a real estate agent. So I was selling group fitness and gym memberships at a local gym. And I went to school for health promotion. So my goal was to use nutrition and wellness and fitness as my career. But then I was sitting behind a desk selling memberships and feeling like really discouraged with, this is my career path when I'm being discouraged from even exercising because they wanted me selling memberships. And I love the selling part of it, but it was like, don't work out. We need you to be selling. And the hours were terrible. So one of my friends at the time had just gotten her real estate license. She was coming in working out and so happy and selling houses. And she's like, you should really consider this. And I mean, she just planted a little seed. And then that time I was dating Jed and he had his own real estate firm. So between those two pieces, I think that's what piqued my interest. And the question I had is, could you sell something you don't love? Like I'm not one to love houses. I hope that doesn't disappoint anyone. I'm not a window shopper at houses. I don't like design and interior decorating the way a lot of real estate agents do. And so I thought that how could I sell something I don't love? But what I learned is like, if you have the skill of selling and can walk people through a process, it doesn't matter what you're selling. So the idea of the freedom and flexibility that real estate offered just was my like segue in. And it's been awesome for me, for sure.
Makes sense. Okay. So as a top producing realtor, like how many houses do you think you've been in with clients?
Goodness. Yeah, that is a crazy, funny question. I have no idea because I've never logged that. I log my books I read, but not the houses that I visit. Earlier in my career, I definitely was in more homes. You know, as I've grown, I've delegated out a lot of that. But I have closed over 600 homes in my career at this point. So I would guess that I've at least seen that many, and most people don't offer on the first home that they see. Some do, but not all. So I would at least double that, 1,500 maybe, somewhere in there. A lot.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Totally switching topics again.
Yes.
I'm just so interested about what your wedding was like. You mentioned Jed already. So how big was it? Where was it?
I would love to answer that question. So we met in Raleigh and got married at the Burning Coal Theater downtown Raleigh. We were looking for an inexpensive venue that we could get married at and do the reception. We had all these like pet peeves of all the weddings we had attended, and we're like, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. And one thing was like this lag time between the actual ceremony and the reception. And so we said, we're going to do it in one place so that people aren't waiting around, and that food would be ready like the second the ceremony ended. So we did that. So we got this little venue. They'd never done a wedding there or a reception or anything like that, but they were willing to. So we got it so dirt cheap. Wow. I think they do it pretty regularly now, but it was awesome. And we even did pictures, which might seem crazy, before the wedding because Jed didn't want to see me for the first time walking down the aisle. He was like, that is a moment for me and you, not for everyone else, which if you know Jed, that is totally his personality. At first I was like, no, you have to see me when I'm walking down the aisle. But he wanted that moment special. So we ended up spending the vast majority of the day together with our family, taking pictures, and then going to the ceremony where we've already spent half the day together. So probably very different than other people's wedding. Yeah. And then Lily's Pizza, if you haven't been there, you should go check it out. It's a hole in the wall. There's one in Raleigh downtown. We went there a lot when we were dating. So it was special to us. So we had that as our food, was Lily's Pizza. And then we had I should say this. My mom was like, you have to have a cake at your wedding, right? And as soon as somebody tells me what I have to do, I do the opposite. So I was like, well, now we won't have one because I'm so prideful. And so we had a Dairy Queen ice cream sundae bar, which was so fun. And then again, we knew that the friends that we had at that point in time might not be long-term friends just because of life. And we've seen that happen with so many people. So we said we really wanted it just to be our family. So our brothers and sisters were our bridal party, but we didn't have anybody stand at the front with us. They just walked down the aisle, took pictures with us and spent the day with us. But it was like, we look back at our pictures now and we're like, the people that were there are different people than we probably have there if we got married today. So it was so fun. We were gifted money for our wedding, and we said we wanted all that money to go towards both the honeymoon in the Dominican and our wedding. So we did it on a budget. And I've always said I want to write a book on how to do a wedding under $10,000. And that's what we did. And it was a blast.
I think you should write that book.
That would be fun.
I'm going to hold you to that.
You should.
Okay, so what is your favorite part about being married to Jed?
My favorite part about being married to Jed, I would say marriage has not always been easy for us, and still isn't easy for us. We've got these very strong personalities that clash a lot. We say there's like two alphas living in our house, which is tough. But I think since having kids, that's been our favorite thing of like, having these two little lives that we're invested in, that we love, and that we're raising together. And then we have this dream, we both do, of them working with us in real estate and managing real estate properties. And so, the other day we were with Ellie and I said, she's 3. And I looked at Jed and I said, she's not going to be around long. She's going to say goodbye to mommy, dad really early because she is so independent. He's like, if we can get her into real estate and some properties and managing them, maybe we can keep her around longer. So I think we've loved that piece of just watching them develop as little kids and then hoping to have a future that we'll play a part in with them.
I love that. Yeah. I did not know that. That's a surprise to me.
Yep. It's a dream.
So, okay, your kids, Obviously, we're spending a lot of time at home right
Mhm.
now.
Mhm.
When they do leave, because they will one day, what is one thing you hope that they just remember and hold on to?
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, we pray so ruthlessly that they would know Jesus and love him and serve him. But then I always say, but I hope it doesn't take them to the end of the earth. Like, I don't want them to
Right.
go overseas so selfishly. So that they would just know Jesus and love him and follow him for the rest of their life. And that I can have peace knowing that they have that in him.
Mina, I love that question.
That was a good one. Thanks, Mina.
Okay. I don't know what the answer to this question is. What is the kindest thing anyone has done for you?
I love that question, and I should spend some more time thinking about it. What came to mind first, like right off the top of my head, was just when Jed and I were dating. I mean, he is a romantic, that didn't change, but when we were dating, it was like, at the nth degree. But I was working at this health club at the time, and I always say he was like staking his claim over me because he'd send these ginormous bouquets of flowers, like lilies, just huge. And I felt like it was weekly, like these huge bouquets of flower would come to the front desk and they'd call for me, and so that was a very regular occurrence. And then he got us Deepak season tickets, which I didn't even realize we had season tickets until probably halfway through the season. And it's like, we're going the same day every month, hilarious. Same seat. I didn't get it. But he would create these invitations. He got all the construction paper and pens and markers for them and would make it just this big, like elaborate special thing. And then I had saved all my prom dresses from high school. So he would go along with me to wear that and get dressed up and just kind of make it like a very elaborate, special thing. So those are the things that come to mind. And then he rented a convertible before I ever owned one because he knew how much I loved the sun. He does not love the sun, so it was very sacrificial for him to ride to the beach a couple of hours in a convertible, just getting baked. Like, he's covered in sunscreen and a hat and glasses, and I'm just like basking in the sun because he just knew how much I loved that. So things like that from Jed.
I didn't know that you owned a convertible.
Yeah, I've had two.
Come on.
Yeah.
New things.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So I'm so interested to know when you're at work and these big flower arrangements are coming and they're saying like Ashley Gronewald to the front desk.
Right.
Like, what are you feeling in that moment?
I mean, that was 10, 11 years ago at this point. I remember being just giddy for Jed. I was just over the moon, and I still love attention. You probably know that. So like the thought of this man wooing me just to the nth degree, I loved it. And just what it was saying to everybody around me of like, I'm loved. And I have to preface that with, I had just gotten out of a broken engagement. So this was like heart healing for me because I just had somebody say they wanted to marry me and walk. So this man pursuing me elaborately like this was helping mend some wounds that I had.
Yeah. Wow. That is so sweet to think about. Does he still do anything crazy like that?
So, and I will encourage you, don't do what I did, which at that time I loved it. And practicality never crossed my mind. Right. But then now I would tell him, don't spend the money because flowers die and they're, and he has said, I want to get you flowers, even if you don't see it's not practical. I want Ellie to see you getting flowers from your husband. So that's really sweet that he's thinking like that. But I definitely squelched that early on when I just was like, you don't need to do that. So does he still do it? Yes, but I definitely put a big damper on that. Yeah. So you have to be careful. And again, same with like his romantic and just creative side. Yes. Again, being a mom and working, we can totally squelch those desires in a man because we're like, that's not practical, or I don't really feel like I want to go out after putting them to bed. So that would be my caution of being careful to try and do those so that your husband still uses that creative muscle and pursuing you in marriage.
I love his point of it's important for your kids to see that.
Yeah.
I think we don't think about that.
No, it's such a long-term perspective. Like, I'm thinking that costs money that I don't need you to spend. And I've never been a big flower person in general, but it's still like, it's communicating love to one another and your children watching. So it's worth that money.
And he's going to start bringing them in like, oh, let's do this for mom.
Right. Exactly.
what he did last year for your birthday?
Was it the can of soda?
Yeah.
So I come down out of bed that morning and there's like soda water in a Christmas tree like shape.
Like a cake.
Like a cake. It was a cake, not a tree. Yeah, on the counter, but every color in a circle all the way up to the top with the card, which is sweet. Like, but to me, I'm like, that's practical.
It's practical.
I'll drink every one of those. Right. And it was pretty and exciting.
Oh, man. That was one of my favorite
That was good.
stories.
It's fun.
Pictures to see. Okay, Melissa asked a really good question, and I think this might be the last one we have here.
Okay.
What do you do with old journals and Bible studies? I could even add books in here because I'm sure people are curious what you do after you read all these books.
Gosh, this is from my friend Melissa, and I love this question and hate it at the same time. So I'm going to send it out to you guys to see if anybody has a good idea. Sam and I were chatting about this a little bit earlier. I don't have a good plan for this. In my minimalism journey, I want to get rid of all of them all the time. And then I second guess that decision. So Bible studies, I have definitely parted with because I have found in my journey, walking with the Lord 15 years now, I do not go back and reference them. Yeah. So I'm like, in 15 years, I haven't, I probably won't. So I've given those up. Journals, I've literally put them in garbage bags and put them in the garage to take to the dumpster or whatever. And I remember my dad one time said, I don't think that's a good idea. And so I brought them back in the house. And so I have a big plastic tub in our attic that it stresses me out slightly.
I have one too.
Because I'm like, I don't go back and read them. I never have. I know people who definitely do. And I think that is a valuable reason to keep them, to go back and see God answer prayers and be faithful. But I don't go back and read them. I don't even know if I could read my handwriting if I went back.
I definitely have gone back.
And that makes sense then to keep them. So I have kept those, but Bible studies I've passed on at this point. Books, I hold on to them if I want to, because books I will go back and reference. And if I want to loan those to people, like if they've made a big impact on me, I want to be able to say, hey, read this. But I have stopped buying a lot of books, and I do most of mine through the library because I don't want to accumulate a ton of books. So books, I would be a little bit more open to doing what makes sense for you. I often buy them at the thrift store and then give them back to the thrift store. So I'm not keeping a whole bunch of books. I don't want big bookshelves of books.
I know, because I'm thinking, where do you keep your books that you do keep?
I have 2 little bookshelves up in my little office space. Okay. Yeah. But I'm constantly going through them.
Like, is there any,
the favorites. Yeah, for sure.
Love that. Is the library open?
So you can order, and like today I'm going to pick up a book, but you have to specify the time that you're going to pick it up, which is slightly stressful. I ordered like 10 books and there's one. So I'm going to be like, am I going to go once for the next 10 days to pick up books? But at least they're offering books at this point. And then I want to throw one back at you. Can you think of off the top of your head the kindest thing someone's done for you?
So I can. It just sticks out in my mind. We're on technically our 3rd adoption. Our first one failed. The second one, we were just rallying everyone, and the timeline was short in the beginning, and anyways, and you can have an idea about how much an adoption costs. So the majority of people don't adopt because of the financial burden of it. Yep. But again, we have always seen God never fulfill that. So for our second adoption, which was domestic in the state of North Carolina, we had someone who we barely knew give us an incredibly large amount that I thought was a mistake. And I reached out and I was like, I'm so sorry. This just came through. Wow. I don't know what you need to check on your end. I'm happy to fix this. However, but she said, no, we heard your story. We had this to give and we wanted to. And it was like, it just will always, it's imprinted on my mind.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing. Here's a good question for you. I've been listening to a podcast and she asked 2 questions at the end of it and I love it. It's like, what is your minimalist moment? I'm so into minimalism right now. Is there something that you'd say that you are minimizing in your life right now?
So it's funny because we talk about this often and I'm thinking, okay, we're preparing to bring 2 girls home from Colombia and Ashley's preparing to have a baby. We're both in this crazy clean out minimalism. I'm like, we're both nesting. Yeah.
Right.
So it's been I mean, all the things. I'm trying to narrow down on one, but a couple of the podcasts I've listened to, they're even attributing minimalism to like the way that you think.
Yes.
And I really have liked that.
Yeah.
Like, what is there not space for right now that's excessive, that's just not worth the mental energy or capacity? And trying to really think on like, how am I responding to this? And what is
minimizing the talk in your head that's going on, that's not necessary, that's wasting energy.
Yeah.
That's really good. I know you did some with clothing when we did our swap, which is fun. I did a lot in my kitchen, which I thought I didn't have any more space
I did
to
after
clear
you
out.
told me that.
It's so fun to me. I've had a blast with it. And then like yesterday I went through Ellie's books again, and thankfully she didn't freak out. Normally she's like, what are you putting those books in the bag for? And I said, we're taking them over to Dee Dee's house, which is my mom's house, for her to have some books to have. And so my mom will pick some from there. But
nice.
Yeah, I think for me, knowing that we're bringing more stuff in with a baby, I have to take stuff out or it starts to feel overwhelming.
And my kids are a part of it now too. They'll be like, oh, we're going to clean out the toy. I'm like, yep, let's clean out the toy.
Yeah.
Let's make a pile.
And we're not quite there with Ellie. Like I was like, are you willing to give up a couple stuffed animals? She's like, no. No, she was like, to give to other kids. And I was like, yeah. She was like, no. I was like, man.
You know what? I think I heard somewhere, somebody was like, we took every doll that we had in the house and we brought it into the room. She's like, you couldn't imagine the pile. There were like hundreds of dolls. And so you just don't know because they're all spread across the place and everything. And she told her kids, okay, you can pick X amount of dolls and then the rest. And it's like, oh, that would be hard.
Yes.
But she said it was great because now they play with all of them.
Yep. I think you could do that with puzzles. You could do that with games.
Anything. Stuffed animals.
Yes. I think that would be so good. And maybe start with something that they don't care that much about. Yeah. If they're not big puzzlers, start there. So they get the concept. Here's another question. What can you not stop talking about? It could be anything. Is there something going on right now you just can't stop talking about? Like, I'll answer it, give you an example. We just watched the movie Just Mercy. Have you seen it? Great movie if you haven't seen it. I think it's on Amazon, but just about racial injustice, true story. I love true story movies, so send those to me if you have them. But such an amazing story. We just watched that, Jen and I. So I haven't stopped talking about it since we saw it last night.
Very relevant example.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. That's a hard one.
It is hard.
I'd have to think about it. But I feel like pretty frequently the idea of cleaning out, like that's coming up. Yeah. Like it just feels good.
It does.
To know what you have and know where it is.
Right. And I think the hardest thing is Danny on board with you with minimalism and not.
He is. Until I touch the kitchen, he's like, I might use those things frequently, even though you don't.
He's a chef.
Right.
Like, he's legit. Yeah, you kind of have to run that by him before you start.
He's like, I'm loving this. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what I'm learning on this journey with it too, is like being cautious and cognizant of the other people that live in your home. Like, you can't make the choice for everybody else.
Totally.
And so like thinking for Ellie when I'm going through her toys and being kinder with her with that. And then with Jed, and just because they're different doesn't make it wrong.
Right.
It's not my preference. So that causes so much friction for me because he tends to hold on to things.
Right.
But then he also has things when we need things, he has it, which is great, but I'm fine with going to the store and getting it when we need it. So I'd rather not hold on to it. So anyway, I love the concept of like, if you can replace it for under $20, get rid of it if you're not using it. I think that was a really good idea.
That was a good rule.
Any favorite restaurant you would recommend? I mean, I know a lot of them are closed and it's a different experience right now, but favorite restaurant that you and Danny love, you'd recommend?
I mean, we do love Kai Sushi.
Kai Sushi.
It's there on Lead Mine.
Okay.
We've done takeout from there a couple times. They just have such good sushi.
Yeah.
If you like sushi.
I don't like sushi. I will not be going there. We've just gotten Ellie to say her favorite restaurant is Bad Daddy's, and we go there a lot. So it's sweet that before she'd be like, the burger place with the stairs. And we're like, which one is that? But we all really like Bad Daddy's a lot. And then favorite book that you've read recently or favorite movie that you've watched recently?
I don't do a lot of movies.
Yeah.
I don't have that kind of time before I fall asleep. They're just too long.
Yes.
But books, you gave me, or
Oh, yeah.
borrow Letting Go of Leo.
You gave it to me as
I gave it to you, and then I borrowed it.
Yeah.
That I have talked about that book a decent amount, like Something You Can't Stop Talking About.
That
That
would
book
be it.
is very good.
So this book is called Letting
Go of Leo.
Letting Go of Leo. Do you remember the author's name?
Semi Bodit?
Yes. I don't know how you pronounce it exactly, but
like that.
Letting Go of Leo, look that up. Great book. Just in regards to body image for women and the struggle with eating disorders. And I'm actually, good segue, I'm going to have a counselor who specializes in eating disorders come and do a 30-minute session with me. So I'm going to ask her some questions about common things she sees within that realm, since it's so common. I mean, we've shared that struggle and conversations about it a lot, but having her come on and kind of speak from this is an undiagnosed problem for the vast majority of women. So I'll have her on in a couple of weeks, and we'll get to talk with her, which will be really fun.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So it's almost 2, so we're going to let you guys go. But thank you for spending some time with us. Thanks, Sam, for asking questions. So fun. Anyway, hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
See you.